Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new show, Inside the Mind, with Milos the Mind Sarcev. And now joining us all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, please welcome the man himself, Milos the Mind Sarcev. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ron. I had entered the mind column. I like this Inside the Mind column right now at Muscular Development with JYM supplements. I'm delighted to be here to do the monthly column and all kinds of questions and answers, experiences. So shoot with all the questions that you might have.
Okay, I will. First, I want to congratulate you on Neil Curry, your client. I was expecting to see you at the New York Pro. First of all, why weren't you there? I missed you.
I had obligations here. Yeah, you know, it's hard when you see the calendar and then you have to prioritize certain things, right? And then you already know, like, okay, this is not realistic, especially because there was only one guy, right?
Yeah.
And Neil Curry is very easy to work with because we do the weekly checkups, and for 16 weeks, prep was perfect. You know, there's nothing that you have that panic mode, question mark, should I do this? The only thing there was is cruising into the weight that we can just make the weight limit and then step on the stage filled up. And in Pittsburgh Pro, actually, it was very challenging, right? He came down and then didn't really have much time to load up. So he was lean, a little bit flattish.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the morning, I don't know if you know the whole story. Last time when I prepared Logan Franklin for Texas show, Neil was backstage, and Neil was one of the guys that was looking to be a top 4 for sure. And then he never came out. I was doing the commentary, you know, for Muscular Development, and I know that in the previews I mentioned Neil Curry's name, but then he never stepped on stage, and I didn't know what happened. Logan is the one that told me he had some major bloatness and stomach issues, and he had to pull out the show.
Oh, man.
So we worked on a diet that we don't touch anything whatsoever to bloat his stomach. And this time, he was just night before the show, he says he got some crazy fear that this is going to happen. So he kind of overslept. And then instead of 4 meals, he only had 2 meals. And he was a little bit on the flat side, great condition, everything. But it was not just that. So me being me, I have to always be straight shooter. It's like, listen, when we do something that is so predictable, you know, I gave you timing and amount of nutrients, calories, manipulate carbs, protein, fats, right? Yeah. It's easy to predict, but if you miss it, we cannot predict, especially in that dehydrated state, you know, close to the contest, super lean. I mean, within hours, you can lose the look that we are looking for. So anyway, we didn't lose this time. Even there was the worst one. Friday night, 7:30 was weigh-in, and Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, they had to step on the stage. But we made sure that he was eating throughout the night and early in the morning. So, you know, everything was just perfect.
Yeah, he looked fantastic, and he beat the German guy that beat him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Camilo Diaz is a third, and there was Black Panther and a couple of other guys. The you know, stacked show, very stacked show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed you. I wish you had been there. Okay, so let's get to some questions. Most of these are about peaking because you are a prep coach guru here. So what are the challenges to helping an athlete peak when you have to do it via FaceTime rather than being physically at the contest with them? Because you can't always be at these shows.
Yeah, I mean, look, since I moved back to Europe in 2011, I was speaking people on the FaceTime and WhatsApp and Viber, you know, for 7 years before I came back. If you see, this is how I would do it. Every day, same place exactly, under the same circumstances, same light, same camera, same distance, before or after workout. It had to be same conditions, right? Yeah. I would like to see you not just take pictures, but video, because the video shows much more than pictures. Not to mention that we can all filter the pictures and make ourselves look better, you know, but there is to it, right? You know, show me the real deal. Show me what you look like in between poses. And I'm going to just jump in on that one because nobody ever talked about it. When I look at a contest, and there was, for example, champion, Blessing Abudibu, was a perfect example of, in a pose, looking phenomenal, perfect, no question, a winner. When he pulls around in between the poses and does his thing, drops his obliques, vitamin out, relaxes his legs, and then gets skinny legs and wide waist, exactly the opposite of his sweeping thighs and small waist and V-tapering. These are the things that I'm looking for. Because if I'm watching your video you're sending me, and just when you're hitting a poses, which is normally for 3 seconds, you look good, but it takes you 10 seconds to get in a pose and you look like shit, what kind of picture am I getting? And if I see it, the judge is going to see it. So this is how you basically start taking control over, don't make mistake in between poses. Sequences have to be perfectly angles, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just to say, look, we are blessed that nowadays with this technology, we can see each other on the phone. When I was born, right back in the 60s, and when I talk about, in the future, you're going to be able to use the phone and see each other, that was unthinkable. That was like, this is never going to happen, not in our lifetime, right? So I honestly remember that, like, no, this is far-fetched. That's never going to happen. And probably they were already working on it because of Nikola Tesla, right? But listen, you don't need to be necessarily there. Yes, of course, there is a degree of safety, and it's better if I see you in person. But if I see you 5 times a day on the same light, same circumstances, in the hotel room, it's quite achievable.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Science fiction movies, even into the 80s, would show people talking on a computer, it's basically was just like FaceTime or Skype or Zoom or whatever. But that was something that was supposed to be like 100, 200 years from now. That's
we're not going to live to see it. Yeah, I remember for that phone. Anyway.
Okay, next question. Some clients have issues with their coach also working with another athlete who they will be competing against. Supposedly, that was one of the main reasons Nick Walker and Matt Jansen no longer work together. Do you ever get that reaction from your clients, and how do you handle it? Because right now, I know for the Olympia, you already have in Classic, you have Logan and Neil that'll be in the Olympia. You probably have some more guys. So
I mean, you follow my Colosseum days when I have 5 guys competing at the Olympia, and not just that I was preparing them, I was training them at the same time. They were actually doing it, and one need to push the other, and we really have that camaraderie. And I was like this, look, I helped Nasser Al-Sabari beat me in the contest in 96 Houston Night of Champions, right? I said, like, let's support each other, train together, let's know everything that goes, discuss this, and then shake hands, let the best man win. So I never had this people being jealous of each other. Yes, I would tell them when I was preparing Samson and Regan and Mohammed and all these people in the same show, I want each other to do everything in their power to beat the other guy. I mean, you have to be at your absolute best, but going into the show, they understand that we are same team and one best for all of us. They don't want to sabotage anything for me or be jealous about it. I mean, how many people does Chris Aceto trains, or George Farah, or Hani Rambo? He had Hadi and Phil Heath, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And he might have Hadi and Derek in the same show. Because I still don't think that Derek is gonna make the 212, so he's gonna have no chance. But try to enter the Open. But that's how the story. Listen, I am a coach, and I want the best for everyone. And if anybody complains, I would just point out the door and tell them, then I guess we don't supposed to be in the same team.
Yeah. You had one guy, I'm not going to mention who he was, but he got mad because you were helping someone fix their pose in the pump up room, that you saw that they weren't hitting the pose right. And this guy came to you and said, why are you helping this guy beat me?
Yeah. I mean, can you speak the names? Yeah.
It was Max.
I have no problem. There was Max Charles.
Yeah.
Okay, Max Charles. That listen, you can imagine we prepare for 7 shows. And 7 shows, he was always top notch. Olympia pre-judging, it was real rough. It's a long story, but since the day one, Arnold Classic, when we did, I told him, look, I'm going to dial in, 0 risk, 0, we go safely, and don't worry, your condition is going to be off the chart.
Yeah.
And it was. And right after that, the New York next show, if you remember, there was a COVID New York, there was no gyms, you can't do anything.
That's right.
And he wasn't really even training properly, but a freak that he is, like genetically, really.
Yeah.
He got in shape so quickly. I mean, if you would see him 4 weeks out, there would be like no way he can make it.
Wow.
And then he still makes it. Trademark from the front, ripped to pieces hard, from the back, not exactly, but we managed this super, many times. Along the way, I would be always, like I said to everybody, legs, abs, legs, abs. You gotta have it. Abs, the center of the body, you have to keep the stomach flat and deep abs.
Yeah.
Center attracts so much attention. And then you have to have a sweeping separated quads, especially when they are not sized properly, because it's undersized. You have to at least know how to flare them out and separate them. So I worked hours on his presentation of the legs. I'm sure you heard me prejudging in finals. I'm just screaming, legs, 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 legs. So here it is. In one of the shows, I've seen Jan Valier, who basically I have a little issue with him because, just when you give a little criticism and then they get offended and they start defending it, and you go further, it can go in the wrong direction. So it went the wrong direction. But I really like Jan. I'm a fan of the sport. I'm truly passionate about bodybuilding. So when I was passing by him, and I see it, and I feel it. I feel obligated to tell him, say, Jan, you were not squeezing your legs in the pre-judging, and think front relaxed, front lat spread, front double biceps, abdominals and thighs, and most muscular. Those are all poses that you're exposing your lower body. And if you don't squeeze your legs, you can lose all of those poses. Right thing to say, yes. Best intention, yes. Well, and I said in the interview with you that I did that.
Yeah.
And that interview, Max Charles and his wife saw it, and they thought that this is just like not the right thing to do. I'm betraying him and helping somebody else. And that's why they decided not to work with me.
Oh, wow.
And I reminded Max in a New York show that year that I mentioned, there was Akim Williams with his coach at the time, Oscar.
Yeah.
And we were there together, and I just felt the need to go to Akim Williams and tell him, hey, make sure that you glue your stomach to the spine, keep your stomach flat, with your abs deep, because when you do that, then that sheer mass and thickness and width is going to make completely a different picture, right? When you let your stomach go, you can be penalized, and here, you're going to be awarded. I said, Max, this is right in front of you. And as a matter of fact, you remember what you told me? Yeah, you told me, oh, Akim didn't like that. I know Akim, he didn't like it. I said, whether he likes it or not, I told what he needs to hear it, not what he wants to hear it. But listen, even right now, I would give advice to every single pro, from being just experienced and kind person, that if I can contribute to your success, I would do it even if I'm not your coach.
Awesome. More questions. Are most competitors able to peak 7 days later for back-to-back contests, or do most people need more time than that for their bodies to reset from the carb loading and dehydration?
Yeah, you see, I completely disagree with many of you. I see that there's a trend in every website when you say, oh, this guy is tired, he had too many competitions, he can't, peak over and over and over.
Yeah.
Go back in the 90s, from 91, first year that I competed in 8 back-to-back weekends in Europe, traveling from one country to another. There was not squeezing into the 1 week, but there was 1 week in Italy, 1 week in Finland, 1 week in Russia, 1 week, and then we had to stay there. And, most of us, maintain the condition. Look at the Chris Cormier 72 shows and find how many shows he didn't peak, or Dexter Jackson, the best example on earth. I think 92 pro shows or 84 now, I forgot. Wow. But extreme consistency, competing time after time again, it's not that. I mean, I've been with Ronnie, and Ronnie peaked over and over. I witnessed Kevin Levrone, Dorian was a few times in the shows, not as many shows, but he did, which I take my hat off to him. Even after winning the Olympia, he took a chance and did like Germany and English Grand Prix, right? And as a matter of fact, 94 at Olympia, he wasn't at his best, but then in Europe, he was much more dominant, he fixed it. So to answer your question, peaking is a picking process. If you're lean, okay, you done your job of getting as lean and maintaining as much size as possible. What is peaking? Mere manipulation, a little bit of glycogen, water, salt. This is all there is to it. So something that already worked once should work very well second time. But if you look at my journals, right, that I have, and I was posting many of those, even though if I want to replicate exactly what I'm supposed to replicate, and I did 1,000 grams of carbs on Thursday and 1,200 grams on Friday, for example, in previous shows. This time on Thursday, as I start loading, 600 carbs loaded me up already. So it's like, oh my God, I am full as a house. If I keep, just because my intention is to put so much carbs, I don't need it. I don't need it. So this kind of things. Or you do as much and you're still flat. I mean, I had people, the story about Dennis Wolf back in 2007, when the first time I worked with him, 3,500 grams of carbs for a New York show, because it's the first time I worked, and that's like already like, oh, mind-boggling, so much carbs. And he was kind of flattish. And then I went to 4,000 grams of carbs for Keystone, and he won that show looking great, but I sensed he could have still be fuller. For Olympia, I said, okay, I'm there watching him every 3 hours, more carbs, more carbs, more carbs. 5,000 grams of carbs in 2.5 days needed to fill up his glycogen storage to look like that. Listen, but so there's not a prescription and then you just follow. You respond to what you see. So for those guys that they can't peak, yes, just clear your mind and watch what you're trying to accomplish. You're lean, okay, no more cardio to burn. What are you going to burn? You have no fat. Why would you do cardio? So now you throw in, again, cardio this other week, you are fatless. Why would you do cardio for that reason? Okay, but it's accepted. Oh, then I would throw in again clenbuterol and everything else, right? Because it's a fat burner. Fat is gone. Don't do it. So this is how it goes. Now, I look flat. I need to put the carbs back in. So you can put the carbs in a regular daily amounts that you want to do it, okay? Or you can deplete and load. If you do it regularly, you can expect you're going to look day in, day out the same. So you're not trying to super compensate the glycogen. I did it from the very beginning back in the day because it sounded as a good idea. Super compensation. Oh, okay. So I can put more that would previously be there. Oh, that can create illusion of the size. And I had countless people many times off stage when they come up to me and say, Milos, you don't look as big as you look on the stage. I say, yeah, I create illusion when I'm on the stage, because that's the principle that I like to use. I was competing, as you know, in the 90s with the monsters, with the Dorian and Nasser and Ronnie and Paul Dillette. So I had to create a little bit illusion of exercise. My symmetry, proportion, and aesthetics wouldn't get me there.
Definitely worked. So this is another carb up question. Do you typically have clients carb up on junk foods or stick to the same clean carb sources they've been dieting on throughout the prep?
Never, ever, ever would I reach out for junk food and make this as a principle? And okay, I'm sure that you heard many guys do it. I would scream to anybody that asked that question: what is junk food going to do to the athlete that has been dieting with a clean food, clean protein, carbs, fats all this time, and now it's going to be junk food of choice? What? Burgers and fries, French fries, saturated trans fats mixed with God knows what else, inflammation waiting to happen anyway, right?
Yeah.
And it's, I mentioned the other day to somebody, they called it shit loading. Back in the day, shit loading, yeah, you do whatever and then you eat whatever. And then, oh yeah, they filled up and they feel good. Listen, if you filled up, what is going to be filled up? Oh, you expect your glycogen storage to be filled up. Yeah. Glycogen is glucose and water. Carbohydrate that you're going to have to dig out from that French fry and burger, you're going to have a very little usable carbs in that thing, and you're going to have a shitload of unwanted fat and preservatives and God knows what that can bloat your stomach, and it can create all kinds of troubles. So for me, it doesn't make sense. I know that some coaches give the muffins and donuts and all that stuff because it's okay, it's too short of a time, it cannot backfire. But what is nutritional value that you're getting from that? How can you explain to athlete, well, this donut, it does have a 28 grams of carbs, some fructose syrup, maybe not the best choice, some saturated fat, some lard over there, and pure sugar, and yeah, that's good for you. That's going to fill you up. Yeah. Which part is going to fill me up? That's trans fat, that lard, the high corn fructose syrup. I mean, really. So people tend to lie to themselves and accept the lies. For me, if I tell you to do something, why do I tell you this? We need this much carbs for clean sources from foods that you've been eating all this time. You're just going to bump it up the amount, okay? You're going to have the same carbs your body is accustomed to. Now, do we need to throw in some fats to slow down the carbs? Maybe. Then I'm going to mix a little bit of fats there. Do I need to keep the sodium and the water? I talk about this many times. Sodium and water are two most essential nutrients for bodybuilders. And that came from my father back in the day in 87, when he watched me prepare for a first contest. And I didn't drink, obviously, because I heard, you have to dehydrate yourself. And I didn't take any salt for days. And he says, like, two most important nutrients, salt and water, especially for athletes that you are sweating, you are exercising, performing, and all this stuff. Of course, you don't want to listen to your father, whatever it is, teenagers don't do it. So I didn't. And after I almost, died, I had a very bad experience. I think I mentioned for 3 days, I didn't drink any water for 88 Universe. Yeah. That was ridiculous. I do remember the first sip when I did backstage, it was like, pierced my chest and everything else, and I was in trouble. But to make a long story short, there's just few things that you want to accommodate. Sodium and water, I'll tell you, most of the people don't need to drop neither salt or water, or at the last moment, very little if need be. This is how I would say. But to answer, never junk food. Yes, I'm guilty of sometimes giving athlete, like I say, you would like a burger, and you find the burger that it works for you, and in that Sunday that I give you the cheat meal, you have that burger, and Monday you show me your condition, and I honestly cannot say inflammation, and I honestly can say, okay, that worked okay with you, so I might consider it, only for that reason. But for me to fool you and say that nutrition from that burger is much better than this carb loading system that I'm giving you, it's no way possible. It's just like, if this is what you want to do, you feel good about it, you really crave it, okay, let's go for it.
You know where I think this came from is a lot of people, they dehydrate for a couple days before a show. A lot of them will take 0 sodium for, up to 4 days before a show. Then once the contest is over, they go and have all the junk food they want. And they wake up the next day and they look so full and veiny.
Yeah.
But it's just because they drank fluids and they took sodium in again. It's not because it was, ice cream and burgers and cookies.
I mean, we've all been there. I mean, that you have that mindset and you don't allow yourself too many things. But now show is over and then you do allow, and then you eat and drink and everything else. And all of a sudden you wake up like a, freak next day. And say, oh, why can I repeat it? But then next time you try to repeat it and do that principle, it doesn't work. So everything has to make sense. I mean, really, everything has to make sense.
One last thing about that. They think they look better, but they're looking at themselves from 3 feet away in a mirror. If you look at the way they look day after a show, if you put them up on stage like that, they'd be a water buffalo. They don't realize that. The separation's gone. Anyway.
Yes. Many people, if you load them too much, they lose all the separation.
So another question about prepping. When you're prepping these athletes for high-level shows, do you periodize their training to peak them properly? So do you change the way they train, or do you keep them on the exact same weight training schedule and style?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think that Vince wanted me to answer this question in periodization. This is itself great topic that I want to talk about. So first, to just answer your question, training that makes you a certain way would keep you that way. So no, you know how they were saying back in the 70s, train big off season and then lighter the weight close to the contest. And even the guys from the 70s and then 80s, it was like, hey, if you change the stimulation, right, your muscles are not going to, respond the same way, and you can start losing the size. So when I was coming in after the 80s, it was all, the way you trained before is the way you would, train for the contest. So let's talk about periodization just in general. It's a scientific method by a scientist. So, we have this pro science and bro science. So when we talk about periodization for hypertrophy, hypertrophy for bodybuilders, who should we ask? Ronnie Coleman, Marcus Rule, Big Ramy, Jay Cutler, top IBB Olympians, like top 5 at the Olympia last year, Ramy, Brandon Hardy, Nick Walker, Labrada, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing periodization? Are you doing your macrocycles, mesocycles, microcycles, accumulation phase, potentiation phase, intensification phase, all this? It sounds sexy, okay? And I don't know what they want me to answer, but I always answer as it is. Okay, listen. So if I tell you, you have to follow this principle, this so many weeks of intensification, accumulation, and then deloading, and then resepticizing, and then, that's following. You are a follower of somebody's idea that you didn't actually have a chance to ask him, why would I need to go easy in the beginning? And for how long I need to go easy in the beginning? And then once I reach that level of intensity, right, why would I need to deload? I feel like I'm on top of the world. I can leave the house, and I'm supposed to deload because it's scheduled. Yeah. So no, seriously, I mean, I respect many of those guys, and I've seen many principles. And for weightlifting, for powerlifting, some power events, you peak the guys like this, for performance-wise. Yeah. But hypertrophy-wise, right? Mm-hmm. When I hear from experts that never looked nothing close to me or to any IBB pro, this is just like that caricature of a skinny pencil neck scientist coming to Ronnie Coleman, to tell him you're doing it wrong, for a back, you're doing this exercise wrong. And oh yeah, Ronnie Coleman's back. So you have to put this in perspective. So I always had, hardest worker in the room attitude, rock, right? So I was not genetically most gifted. I was not, the biggest, but I'm going to work my ass off, which brought me to, should I train once or twice a day? So I trained twice a day. How many? 6 days a week for 15 years straight. You and most of the other people screaming, overtraining, overtraining. Really?
That's right.
Okay, so now I'm hearing, again, I have to be a follower of a thought. This is overtraining. I thought twice in like my journals, I have the other one, like I would put remarks, and in like 2 days, in a 365-year span, I felt, okay, it's time to deload and take a day off. 2 out of 365, training twice a day. Regan, came to train, right? Initially for Reno, we trained twice a day. Everything was good. I said this plan was to train twice a day for the Arnold Classic, but after COVID, he was wasted. He couldn't do it. We did just one. And even in the Jay Cutler podcast, when we talk about it, I feel personally responsible as a coach. I didn't train him hard enough. This is Arnold Classic, Olympia level, top IBB pro, right? Should I go easy on him? Oh, need to recover, No, you don't. You need to stimulate. So for that reason, when I get the plans that I'm going to have a accumulation period, that I go easy this week and then bump it up a little bit next week and then bump it up a little bit more. And then I can do the, this periodization like linear, intensity and frequency, they go up and down. The undulating, you go up and down, up and down. Okay, when do I go up? When do I go down? You do this in blocks, you do this in these cycles. I know that I might piss off some people, but I never did. I refuse to do it. For me, is you go to the gym, I'm going to train you hard. How? Myofibril hypertrophy specific, some heavy duty, some heavy weights, and progressive overload, maybe stretch overload, something here. Myofibril is going to be affected. And then sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, pump, volume, this kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm going to change every single time so you can never adapt to it. Adaptation is something that you can, stop the process. Your body just adapts to it. But you follow Dorian Yates and Mike Menzer and heavy duty principles, right? Yeah. Did they ever have a periodization? It was all out, all the time, go heavy or go home, right? Yeah. When you speak about progressive overload, so progressively you are overloaded. Oh, are you going to go 3 steps up, 1 down, deload, and then you're going to go again 3 sets? And you're talking to the guy that competed 110 times, right? Yeah. So for me, I was contest ready. And now, after the contest, what I'm supposed to deload, I'm supposed to go through all those phases again. Yeah. Why? I'm primed. I'm 100%. I'm going to go to the gym and kill it. And that principle I apply with everybody that came in. Dennis James, Dennis Wolf, Hidetada, Silvio, Joe Stubbs, you name it. Johnny Jackson, King Kamali that was there, there was anybody that came into the gym. If you're gonna hear from any of my guys, oh yeah, Milos went easy on us at any point, you're never gonna hear that. So yeah, so for periodization, closer to the contest, of course, you're a little bit leaner. So maybe your strength is not gonna be exactly the same, but I'm gonna replicate the pattern of the same amount of reps, okay? So if you can break the personal best, doesn't matter how much you bench or deadlift on a bodybuilding stage, right? Yeah. So I don't do the periodization whatsoever. However, I do listen to the body. That's a lot of instinctiveness, right? Because like I said, in the Regan's case, I see I cannot push him, then you have to back off. But a lot of people limit themselves, and we talked about this earlier, and I tell you, overtraining, less is more, more is more. Always been, always will be. I mean, seriously. So my theory of all that is, I have anabolic phases which is training. And that's why I would train twice.
Mhm.
Charles Poliquin, back in the day, you know who Charles Poliquin is, one of my best friends and a great expert. He would train 3 times a day, and some Bulgarian system, and he would have these, 3 times a day. Okay, in bursts and all that stuff, but I just think, looking back, Serge Nobret, John Brown, Thierry Pastel, Bautista, Spanish guy, they were training 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
God, it's
Okay,
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous, ridiculous. But then again, I train 4 hours a day. If I put 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, 6 days a week, right? So I'm just like a little bit step under it. So I'm never into this, like, oh yeah, it's impossible. It's a human body, and you can adapt it to this level, and that level. So yeah, I don't do the periodization, unfortunately. Probably answer that nobody wanted to hear it, because some experts are not going to agree with me.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to say you're promoting overtraining. So
yeah,
man, do you ever have any clients who don't do any type of peak week? They just keep training and eating, drinking exactly the same and go on stage like that?
I didn't have my clients, of course, because if they became my client, I would watch them, and there's always a little bit tweaks. But I know the guys that would just look. Lee Priest, I just talked to Lee Priest the other day, and he would be pretty much like that. He wouldn't change a thing. What was it? Dennis James told him, oh yeah, first time I saw you, it's day of the contest, and you were drinking protein shake. Who the hell drinks protein shake? And he says, yeah, you saw me the day before, and I drank it again. I said, yeah, he wouldn't change a thing, So yeah, there was, the amateur guys that you probably don't know, from San Diego area. Yeah. One really reminiscent to John Brown and Serge Nobret. Crazy muscularity, crazy quality, fibers everywhere. The guy did not know what to do, and so he would, whatever he would do every day, he would just show up, take the clothes off, and then that would be it. Yeah. Look, Thierry Pastel, one of the greatest bodybuilders that I think of my time, that very much underrated. Yeah. I watched him, okay, and I watched John Brown as well. What they would be eating, all week, you can't even consider the diet. They were under the impression food is the fuel. I'm just gonna train hard. So literally speaking, they were eating everything on site. It's not like chicken, turkey, bacon. Like they go, oh, beef stroganoff, okay. Oh, well, pasta parmigiana, the salvatore, whatever. That's what they were eating. And then, we go to the buffet, and here comes Momo Benaziza, Thierry Pastel, fill up the plate with anything you can possibly imagine. What you were saying, shit loading and that. Yep. And say, see, he's taking this to the room day before the contest. Oh my God, right? So, oh, maybe he's going to be off, and they were on every time. So yeah, there's many people probably that they never peak. They just do the thing day in, day out. The reason why I told you that I do it, if I do it, day in, day out, I stay the same. But if I carb deplete, carb load, and I can super compensate, then I can create that illusion of more size, which always works in my favor. Yes, I had some misses with the guys when you tried to peak them. Look, when you're reporting the contest, right? You're talking about some guys, it's a great condition, right? But then when you say flat, right? Yeah. That's pretty much not in good condition because he's flat, right? He can be lean, but flat, right? Yeah. So if somebody is lean, okay, that's a good condition, right? As far as, he's very lean, he's step on the stage, he did his homework, but he's flat, undercarbed, okay? But it's put in the category of not great condition, right? So this is when it comes, okay, you need to put it back to fill up. especially if you're lean. So how much you're going to put in. So a lot of people are afraid of overdoing it to spill over. So we have a tendency of many guys nowadays going on the flatter side than maybe spilling over.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are, like Dorian said, he was flat every time he won the Olympia. I think you're better off being a little on the flat side than really full and spilled over for sure. Because that's third call out. You're not going to get a look.
Yeah. Dorian, which year? Which year? Did he tell you?
He said every year he was flat.
Every
Every time
year?
he won.
No. Yeah, 92, yes. 93, he was full as a house.
Yeah.
94, he was overspilled. 95, he was greatest condition of all time. You know, it's ripped to the pieces and dry to the bone. 96, so. 97, overspilled. You know, so, there is a lot of inconsistencies if historians really want to analyze it. You know, one of the greatest shows that I would like to do is bring back all the video footage from all the Olympias and rejudge them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, rejudge what you know now, look at them and see if you're going to judge the same thing. You know, that would be something.
I think we'd have a few Mr. Olympias would not have won the Olympia the year they won.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I guarantee, but hey, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people complain about, you know, some decisions in the Olympia, and I said, you should have seen how it was years ago. There were some terrible, terrible decisions for years and years. You have no idea, people. All right, our final question, it's a protein question. I'm trying to follow your daily protein recommendations of 2 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight and wonder what type of protein supplements do you suggest?
Yeah, I said it in a last interview that yes, of course, I like solid food, complete protein from animal sources, right? Yeah. Contrary to what George Farah said on the podcast that whatever Harvard University did a study, and if you take more than 25% of the total protein from animal sources, your longevity is going to go down by 17 seconds, right? And this, I mean, some stupid stuff, right? Yeah, but on a serious note now, what I was saying, I was also judged, but you take a lot of protein powders and not just a solid food. This is how you could eat your 550 grams of protein. I say, yeah, I had a high quality protein powder, micellar casein type or whey protein, right? Yeah. This is going to give me all these amino acids that I would get from a solid food, from a full source animal protein. So I'm going to get the same amino acids even faster. So the advantage of a protein powders, like I say, whey and casein in these cases that I always suggest, you're going to get the same amount of amino acids a little bit faster, and you're not going to get any fat like you will get with beef and salmon and eggs and sources of protein that by the time, if you would eat 8 times a day to get 50 grams of protein times 8, 400 grams of protein, right? Yeah. From a solid food, how much fat you're going to have as a hidden fat additionally. So I know that, for example, Lila Brada back in the day, he had a super high quality, protein powder, and he was taking this all the way through. I just mentioned Lee Priest, one of the best back in the 90s, drinking protein shakes all the way to the show. I had my Ronnie Coleman was drinking protein shakes all the way to the show. So yes, 2 grams of protein per pound. Yes, thank you. I had experiments with even 3 grams. I think I mentioned that, like 6 grams per kilo. And many guys, just about every guy that tried it, it's super hard, but every guy that tried it, considerably increased the muscle mass. I get constantly, like the other day, I get again complaints, Milos, nothing is proving you don't need that much. And here comes again science against bro science. Science would take research and examples of whom? Average person that doesn't really train, doesn't stimulate the muscle, doesn't create a need for this extra protein synthesis, muscle protein synthesis. I'm working on my body, pro bodybuilder, the 10 times Olympia qualifier, on Olympia competitors. This is who I'm working with. As you know, the whole story about Nasser, seeing my journals and seeing them eating a 500 grams of protein, he immediately jumped to 600. And you saw Nasser 94, and you saw Nasser 95, which is transformation that he made.
Yeah.
So yeah, the protein, the question of protein, 2 grams, you could have a 4 solid meals and 2 protein shakes, or 3 and 3. And somebody just posted video. Jerry from I forgot, Bio 3 Science.
Jerry Ward. Yeah, Jerry Ward.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yes. Yeah. And it was very interesting for me to see it. He found some of my old writings in my handwriting. Back in the 90s, there was no internet. You write. I actually had to write in my handwriting, and then I would send this with the graphs. If I do the insulin, here's the onset, peak, strong action, duration, out. So when he said it, I said, I did this so many times. I talked to Dennis James. He says, Milos, you remember first time he was sending me this fax in Thailand? This is my fax ran out of the paper. I mean, it was like 100 pages. I said, yeah, that was me. But even Jerry reading it, it said what it was 600 grams of protein. He said, nowadays people complain, oh, there's too much protein, you don't need it. Oh, it's overtraining, you don't need it. But you need 10 times the amount of drugs, And then yes. when he saw my cycles, he said, this is what Milos has been saying all along. We never abused it. I mean, this was sensible. You use what you're supposed to. But back in the 90s, cycles were 1/3 of what is today.
Oh, we got to do a whole show just about that at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So Pro JYM, is that their Muscular casein and whey protein supplement?
Yes.
Protein powder?
Yes. Yeah, it's super high quality. I would highly suggest it, right? And then whey protein. We are also based, as I told you, on amino acids, right? So we're going to come up with also essential amino acid products in my intra-workout, which is based on essential amino acids. But these are the things that you do immediately when you need pre-digested form. But for any solid meals that you want to replace it throughout the day, you should have whey protein is somewhat faster, so when you need a quicker, you can use it, and casein is a little slower. Also, what I've been doing, I would be taking a scoop and mixing it together. So you have a fast and intermediate and slow release of amino acids.
Yeah, that's why I've always liked protein powders, the ones used for like a meal replacement that are both casein and whey. Because for me, I always want something quick and something a little more longer sustained digestion. So I always like those blended proteins. Well, Milos, that is the first episode of Inside the Mind done. Thank you so much. Guys, you can leave some questions below for the next episode. We're not going to get to all of them, but we're going to pick the most interesting ones, the ones that Milos likes the most, the ones that we think will help the most amount of people. You know how it is. So leave some questions, leave some comments. If you think Milos is a genius, if you disagree with them, you can probably put those comments there. He loves going on there and interacting with you guys. I love when you do that on the YouTube comments, Milos.
Yeah, I mean, I do try to answer as much as I can, really. Yeah. Listen, I'm here to share my knowledge. I don't want people to agree with me necessarily, but when disagree without any backup and without any sense, yeah, sometimes I like to use my sarcasm, and maybe it doesn't sound too good.
That's okay. I find it amusing. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Milos. That was episode 1 of Inside the Mind with Milos Sarcev, brought to you by JYM Supplement Science. You should call it Jim or just JYM? I don't know.
No,
Jim?
I'm supposed to call it Jim. Yeah, but
Jim,
always,
okay.
And I have a hard time, spelling JYM. So many times,
yeah.
It's much easier to say Jim.
Okay, well, I'll start calling it that then. Jim.
Yeah, Jim is Jim Sapani, right? Yeah. Jim is Jim that we go to work out. So yeah, maybe we should just start calling him Jim.
Fair enough. All right. Well, everybody, leave your comments, like the video, share, do all that stuff, subscribe, and we'll see you right here next time. Thanks for watching.